Hey everybody, Shoebox Legends here. Thanks for joining me today for a video response episode here on the channel. This one's going to go out to my good buddy in the hobby, Doug, aka Decon, over at Decon's Cardboard here on YouTube. I will leave a link in the description below. Doug is an awesome collector, awesome human being. Very grateful that I've got to know him in my time here on YouTube. He's someone that I consider a friend in the hobby. We talk frequently and wanted to support him by doing a VR. So what Doug wants to see, he had an interesting experience recently with a graded 1 card that he bought, a pre-war card on eBay. Sort of an unfortunate experience, although I think all ended well. And so he did a couple of videos about that, and it kind of spurned a contest where he wants to see some of your nice looking or otherwise graded 1s. And I do happen to have a few of those, quite a few in the collection. I picked out a handful to talk about here today. So let's flip the camera around and take a look at these lowly 1s. All right, so here is my little stack of crummy, no good graded 1 cards. And let's just get through these. I have 5 to look at. A couple of them are going to kind of make sense paired together. But we're going to start with a standalone card that is one that I know Doug would appreciate. I know he and Adam over at Vintage Sanctuary are big fans of cards that predominantly feature red in the background. And so I had to use this VR as an excuse to show off my Crackerjack Al Damari card here in a PSA Pour 1. And this is, probably what you envision typically when you think of a 1. Has all the wear that you would expect. Really 4 rounded corners, some kind of browning of the cardboard, got a crease right down through the middle of the card here where his left leg is, and just has really been well loved. The card is over 100 years old. It still looks vibrant and the colors are great, and I'm just happy to have this in any grade. Like many collectors, the further back you go in time, the less picky I can afford to be about the condition of my cards because I am on a hobby budget. Bought this one many years back. You can tell it's an old flip that doesn't even have the hologram on it. So this has probably been in my collection for more than 10 years now, but just really adore this card. And Al was a cartoonist of some fame and success. And so I think it's kind of cool to have a cartoon card of a guy who is famous for being a cartoonist as much so as being a ball player. So mainly wanted to include this one again, thanks to the red background there. I knew it was a card that Doug appreciates based on that. And looking at the back, this looks like a 1 as well. We've got paper loss and creases and all kinds of other stuff going on here. But a card that I'm grateful just to have in any shape and to be able to include in my collection. And just proof that there's room in my collection for all grades of card. And a card does not need to be in extremely mint condition to be appreciated and loved. And on that note, have kind of a pair here that illustrate a point that Doug made when chronicling his SGC 1 purchase gone wrong recently in the video that I mentioned during the opening. And that is that not every 1 is created equal. 1 is probably the grade 1 through 10 where you have the most variety in visual appeal within that 1 grade. And I think the next 2 cards show that. So here's a hockey card that's graded a 1. This is from the 1933 O-Pee-Chee set, which was the very first O-Pee-Chee hockey release. And like the Al Damari, this is a card that every bit deserves that 1 grade or looks to be a 1. If I tilt it here, the surface of this thing is just wrinkled and creased to all get out. The card is actually all here. We're not missing any chunks or anything, but man, these corners are about as bunted as it gets. The creasing, which I mentioned, there's some kind of surface schmuck on here, staining. This is a beat up card. You can tell the back is in pretty good shape, but you can really see the wrinkling through there as well. So this card, rightfully so, received a 1 by PSA, and I'm fine with that. Didn't buy this card for the grade. I just wanted to have one of those inaugural O-Pee-Chee cards in the collection. But to put alongside that and to show you just how much of a difference you can see within that same grade, here's an SGC 1, and again, some nice red background here that I picked up not too long ago at an antique store in my neck of the woods. And while this one does have some light surface wrinkling when you get it really close, other than that, it's really in great shape. And when you compare this to the Bun Cook, that came out in the very same year. Both these cards are from 1933, I should say. The card on the left looks a whole lot more beat up and like it's got some more stories to tell compared to the card on the right, which is, you know, rectangular at least. It doesn't have really rounded corners. There's no paper missing from the card on the right. The back is intact and fully legible, like, you know, not like we saw with the Al DeMarie Cracker Jack card. And so I just think, you know, these two cards side by side really kind of show you the wide range that you can expect to find within a grade of a 1. And they kind of prove the point that not all ones are created equal. So I can definitely sympathize with Doug and that point from his video. And then I'm going to close out with two cards from the same set around this same period. I guess I really was focused on the 1930s here for whatever reason. The Diamond Stars release. So I have the first card from the set, the Lefty Grove in a 1. And again, this is probably more similar to what you'd expect. You know, rough edges, rounded corners. The color is not that vibrant and sharp. It is, but there's almost like a layer of like dirt or something over the top of it. So, but it's a gorgeous card. I love it. The back is fully legible, but it's you know, a little bit of a beater. I wouldn't classify it as a beater, but it's in rough shape. It's been loved for, you know, 90 years coming up on here, and it shows it. But from the same set, I have this card, Kiki Kyler, also a Hall of Famer, and this card looks so much better despite being the same assigned grade of a poor 1. And the reason for this, I think I've touched on this in a prior video, right at the tip of his cap here, there's a pinhole. You can just see it right here at the end of my finger, and it does come through to the back here where the A is in Diamond Stars. And that is the sole reason that this card received a PSA 1. So if you're okay with that pinhole, which I very much am, the rest of this card presents beautifully. And if you hold this side by side with the Lefty Grove, it's really amazing how much more wear the Grove has taken over the decades than the Kyler. If you were unaware of that pinhole and holding this card at arm's length, you could easily be convinced this was a 3 or maybe even a 4 because it's in really, really good shape other than the pinhole. And so, you know, just another example, two cards side by side from the same set and in the same grade, but the card on the left looks so much better because it suffers from, you know, one defect that knocks it all the way down to a 1, whereas the card on the right has many defects that result in it, you know, achieving that grade of a poor 1. So there you have it. Just 4 or 5 ones that I grabbed from my boxes to kind of prove a point here and support Doug and his great channel. I certainly have many other ones in the collection that I could have drawn from, especially when it comes to pre-war stuff. Again, have to kind of just do the best I can on my budget, and I do not shy away from a 1. But Doug, I can absolutely sympathize with your experience, and very glad at the end of that eBay did you right and refunded you your money. So that's my VR for Doug over at Decon. Again, if you're not subscribed to him for some reason, please head on over and check his channel out. You will not find a nicer guy in the hobby. And to everybody else, I appreciate you stopping by to check out this video. And I'll certainly be back in the very near future with some more sports card content. Till then, enjoy the hobby, everybody.